$250.
Yeah.
Which, when you've been here that long,
We can start there, and if in 3 years we're still around the table, or whenever we review this, like, you know, we can take a look at the current economic situation, right?
In item 6, timing, again, we're thinking on doing a joint thing in going into the summer when the summer students are here, the seasonal staff are, or we break for the summer.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to call our meeting to order for Committee of the Whole on October 11th, 2022. And we did have a couple of items previously added to the agenda. They were bylaw enforcement and acting collectively. So those were sent in yesterday through the items added form. We do have a new item to add, which is the Destination Cape Breton letter of support. And information was circulated earlier today on that. So are there any other additions to the agenda? No? Okay. So hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. That motion is carried. The next item is the review of minutes from September 12th, 2022. If there are no errors or omissions noted, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I had a couple minor things. Under items added, it says information appointment show garbage bins. We were just removing an item.
Yes.
It was just something.
It was an
Yeah.
it was an item
I
removed.
believe there was something else at the end. As well as the letter to MP Kellaway. A letter of support to him, but it was more or less,
For the broadband?
no, sorry,
Recap.
I got the wrong one. It was the letter regarding the back pay for the RCMP.
Yes.
I'll find the wording here. It was more or less, it wasn't in support of him, it was, we were asking the federal government to
Yeah.
sort of change their stance on.
Yeah, so maybe it shouldn't
municipality
read
part.
letter of support. It should just read letter to MP Kellaway.
Yeah.
Or letter of concern. Or
Letter of
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
letter of concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the wording on that, I noticed.
Gotcha.
And I just noticed a typo in G. It just says "and further move," but the word "further" is missing in her. Nothing.
Thank you.
The teacher in me, sorry.
That's all good. That's what we're here for. Are there any further corrections to be noted? Okay, so hearing none, could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. So, Committee of the Whole is our favorite time of the meeting. So we have a couple presentations, and I see some people in the gallery, which is always a wonderful thing. So I will welcome you all, and I'll ask Paul Wall to come first to the podium, right just to the computer here, and we'll ask you for your presentation. So we put a bit of a timer on it, Mr. Wall, so it's a 15-minute max time frame, including our questions and answers.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I'm always believed in Richmond County, as some of you may know, and I've been trying to improve this county for the last 35 years. Invested a lot of my own family money into
And
this.
Paul, I do want to maybe mention, if you sit, you'll be closer to the
Okay.
mic, and then that way that the mic will
Okay,
pick you
thank
up
you, yeah.
for online. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I built Wall Street, started it in about 1991, and built it up to government standards, which were, at that time, far ahead of a 20-foot right-of-way, which was only allowed at that time. So I put a 66-foot right-of-way in, and it was turned over to the provincial government right away in October of 1994. I'm just going to refer to my notes here so I can... I'm just wondering what to... And let me see if my letter... So I did put it in a letter to you that regarding the road sides and the road itself. Right now, there's so much foliage growing at us per portions of the road that there's 10-inch trees growing out of the shoulder. And I mean this big. and they're leaning over the road. It is a hazard for pretty well everybody that walks up and down the road to the mailbox. You can't see the stop sign driving down Wall Street coming up to the highway. I have several pictures I'll leave you with today. As a developer, and I designed this subdivision, it's very disheartening to see nothing happen from the province and the municipality to follow up to, I expect that when I turn the road over, that there'd be a regular protocol of maintenance and upgrades, but from my personal knowledge, it doesn't matter how many times you can contact the Department of Transportation. They don't seem to follow up on it at all. There's no protocol put in place to have the road graded. Sometimes it goes 3 years without grading, and I do live on the street. By the way, we have a new neighbor that moved into Mr. Greg West over here, and Greg's an architect and architect technologist and project engineer. He's moved here from Ontario, and he's taken up residence here. And I'd like to see our community get more people, and of course, that's a way we're getting them. And but you got to maintain it. I mean, I'm not allowed to go and maintain that road now because it belongs to the provincial government. I'm not allowed to cut any trees. I had some personal health issues. The ambulance and the police can't even get to my home. They can't see my door number. No matter where, I'd have to put my door number in the middle of the road for someone to recognize where my door is at. I expected by now as well that through community health, that we'd have 117 homes in there. There's 117 building lots, 2.5 to 7 acres in the area, and there's only about 35 homes in there. So if we turned around and look at all the tax money we're losing. We're paying a couple of $100s for a treed lot as compared to if there was a home built on it. We'd be paying a few thousand, depending. Some of the homes farther out on Maple are in the $5 million range. And when I look at how can the municipality, how can it embrace sustainability so that that road would be sustained and maintained over the years, embed sustainability into the culture and operation of your municipal corporation. So there should be a protocol set out that for all roads. Look at mine, 30 years now, I put $100,000 of my own money in that. To see it just dilapidated, trees growing out at the corner of the road. You can see the pictures I have there. I'll just bring up this first one here, if I can do this correctly. I'm not sure I'm doing it right here. But that's my brother and my nephew when the road was first turned over. You can see it's a 66-foot wide right-of-way. You can see all the way up the hill, good clearances. I'm standing on the West Bay Highway taking that photo. Okay. The center photo is from the same location yesterday. Mm-hmm. You can't even see up the road. Not counting if you go up there a little farther, you can't see the stop signs. And on your right, you can see a picture of the 50-kilometer-an-hour signage. You can't even read 50 kilometers an hour, and it's covered by trees. And I'm showing a picture there of the mailbox. That's just past my home, and if I walk from my home past Mr. West's home, I have to be out 15 to 20 feet into the middle of the road, and I have poked my eye twice this year and had to put these dilating eye drops in my eyes and stay in the dark for a week because I can't even walk to my mailbox. And there's between that area, it's about 4 feet hanging up on the guide wires. It's going to hit the wires at any day now. And if you look just past the mailbox in that third photo, you can see that the trees that grew in from up there, cars come down from the other end of Wall Street at 100 kilometers an hour. There's a few people that go up there and they let their children ride on their bicycles and while they're getting the mail. And the cars will come out of there. There's only about a 40-foot clearance. You can't see who's at the mailbox. And that's the community mailbox for the whole area. for all of Cape George region. So I'd like to see it cleaned up, that. I really would. I'd like to see my investment treated properly. I believe in Cape Breton. I believe in people should come here and live here. But also, I was in the process of putting several homes across the street from the mailbox there. And I've been working with Mr. West, and I put this on hold. I can't put seniors in there walking up and down the road, and they're not safe walking up and down the road. Traffic goes into there. I've spoke to the RCMP. They said they might come up with a speed trap car and see who's coming out of there. But I don't think I should have to do that. It shouldn't be up to me. It should be up to the municipality and the province to come and inspect this. So I am asking for, in my letter, an assessment, a road maintenance report, so it can eliminate the hazards, and a completed hazard assessment, which is part of the Department of Transportation bylaws, which I have here. I thought I set up something that this community would really like. A 66-foot right-of-way with a 33-foot top, a good road built right the first time. But nothing's been done since. It's very disheartening, and it's not attracting people to our community that need to live here. It's been difficult. So if there's a way that I can get this done, I know I have mentioned in my letter about paving. I know they're going to pave the West Bay Highway coming up next year, and maybe we can include that in there, but I'll leave that up to council to decide that. But I figure after 30 years and the investment from myself, that, you know, and it is the mailbox, Canada Post for the whole area, would be nice to have it paved and properly ditched. And as I was forced to do, to build the road, there's no way they would have took it over if I didn't build it to those standards of Department of Transportation. I have built many roads over the province. I was in the engineering and architecture land survey world for years, and I've never witnessed this lax of maintenance on any other road in any other municipality in Nova
Well,
Scotia.
I will
Not saying that they
stop
aren't
you
now.
there maybe, because I can tell you, you're not alone.
I know that
This
now,
level
yeah.
of road maintenance is basically become more the norm, sadly, than, you know, and I know that that's partly because of fiscal restraints, and I'm sure there are a variety of other factors, but you're not alone.
I know.
Mr. Wall.
I
for sure.
remember better times when there was more people employed by Department of Transportation. They had a bigger budget, and when you called, things were done pretty much right away. Guardrails were put in certain places and that, but now I know they've cut back on equipment, plows, budgets. I've dealt with Darren Blunden up there 100 times over, even, and the planning department, and I'm really trying to make a better community out of Richmond County. And I would like to see this new invigorated council come forward and put some improvements to attract business and development into this area. And if I was to look and see and say, oh, a business is going to come in here and invest here now, I got second thoughts of that. If the municipality's not going to follow up with helping, you force people to build a road and pave the road, but nothing's done for 30 years after that, that's not acceptable for any developer.
So, so questions for Mr. Wall, before we maybe get started, I did want to, you know, I do want to point out, Paul, you know, you and I have back and forth, and I know you've been in contact with the MLA. We're kind of a little bit in the same boat as you, where we can't go cutting trees on a provincial road either, right? So a lot of what you're asking for is really outside of our direct authority, and we're going to continue to, try to influence and advocate, but honestly, really, that's where our level of authority sort of ends. And the Canada Post maintenance, around that's a federal
But they only maintain 2 feet in front of the mailbox, so that's nothing.
Still their responsibility, though, and then the provincial government is responsible for maintaining the roads. And we are not, we can't go and do maintenance on a provincial asset. it's, we're just.
Well,
we're
it's a
pretty-
cost sharing because it's a J-class road.
Right, but the
Yeah.
J-class program, that cost-sharing program is only for certain types of work, right? And so we look at what are the roads around, and we assess each year kind of going forward. We tried to assess one last year, Langley Lane, which is in Point Tupper, in much, much worse condition and a much more commercial area than Wall Street, and we still could not afford to do it. So we are constrained fiscally, because we can't just use that J-class money for whatever kind of maintenance, for just brush cutting. We can't do that. It has to be certain activity. And I'm maybe forgetting exactly what that activity is.
I defer to Chris on that, but there are certain maintenance schemes that are allowed and others that are just
not.
out of scope.
Yeah. So this is what we run into, and right now the quotes are coming back, what was it, almost
Almost twice.
twice as much as what? And so we've had to defer that kind of work for now. But at the end of the day, we can't go ahead and just do the most urgent pieces, because we don't own the asset.
Well, it's not that, it's not that I'm just asking for this now. I've been calling for 20 years to
Yeah.
get this done.
But we still don't own the asset. We never owned the asset fully. It's
Yeah.
so the province is where we need that level of support. And I would agree with you that we need planned maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're gonna, I think, continue to advocate.
I believe, and I'm not certain of this, and you people can correct me on this, I believe Cape George Estates is the most exclusive subdivision in Richmond County. 2-acre lots with restricted covenants, all private, set up very beautiful. The roads in there are very good. There's about 8 or 9 miles of roads in there now. And with municipal help, that could be a big bonus for this municipality. If you built the homes in there and got this up, this would be a big tax for this.
Yeah, no
municipality.
question. And we're always interested in expanding our tax base and
Exactly.
creating new opportunity here. But, sometimes some of this stuff is just a little bit outside of our direct control, I guess is the point I'm making, so.
But it put me in a position that I turned it over expecting, as I read the Municipal Government Act, that all of these things are gonna happen, and none of them happened.
Well,
And
I
if
can't
I look
speak
at my
to-
return on my
yeah.
investment, I took a loss from the day I started it.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't speak to,
And-
what happened way before, but all I can tell you
And this is
we
a
don't
better
really
council
know the answer.
now, vigorous and young, and I expect this can do more.
Well, thank you. And like I said, we're gonna continue to champion for road work. It's probably the call that we get the most about.
Yeah.
I will be honest
Yeah.
with you.
So
Any-
I'm hoping in the next few months, and we can maybe solidify some of this, and I have contacted Kim Maslin, and Trevor Boudreau's been
That's
on
great.
site looking at things, and the bridge is being repaired at Cape George Harbor there at the end of Wall Street finally. It was built in 1941, it's all pressure-treated wood, and it's really unsafe for the bus to go over for children and that, so I'm just trying to make it a better community to live in and attract people to live here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you putting it on the radar for sure, and it has been on our radar. It's, but, like I said, sometimes we can't directly influence the things we don't own fully, so we'll just continue to advocate, and that's probably the best that we can do at this point. I know we're out of time, but I would want to offer to councillors, I feel like I took up all the airtime there. Do you have any questions for Mr. Wall? Okay.
No, I guess I would say the same thing. I mean, honestly, I sit on both sides and everybody knows that, so I won't speak for it being the, as I guess you relate to, Paul, the best, the best, what did you say? Subdivision? Or the nicest, so that would demeanor
It's
some
a
of the
good
other
one,
ones, but
anyway,
it's a
yeah.
very good one.
Yeah.
I will say, like Madam Warden, honestly, being there, I do know that, your biggest push is with the MLA, and that's where you gotta keep knocking on the doors between
Yes.
them and Department of Transportation, because unfortunately, like you said, many cuts have come down in the last several years, and I can tell you many more are coming, so it's only getting worse, not getting better.
Okay. All
Okay.
right, I think we'll leave it there then, folks.
Yep.
So
Yep.
thank you very much. Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wall, for coming in.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Safe
And
travels.
if you want to contact me at any time, I'm available.
That's great. Perfect.
And I'm gonna keep plugging away at it.
Definitely, we're counting on it.
Well, it's kind of my pet peeve in a sense, but thank you all.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
good
Wall.
seeing you, Paul.
Hopefully you'll get me there. Get the community there, so we can get more people and more tax
Okay,
base. That's the-
perfect. Thank you.
Good seeing you, Paul.
All right, so our next presentation up is the Highland Village project. So we have several members from the Highland Village with us this evening. Rodney Chesson is going to provide us with a presentation. And I want to recognize Wilf McNeil and M.A. McPherson, who are on the board of directors in the gallery with us this evening as well. It was like a reunion for me, seeing all these guys here. Wilf and M.A. were one of my first employers coming out of university, so thank you. All right, over to you, Rodney. Tell us about the Highland Village.
Okay, well, thank you for giving us this time this evening, Warden and councillors. So I'll just give you a quick overview of what we've been doing in Iona the last couple of years. COVID may have had visitation quiet, but we certainly had a lot happening. So the Highland Village is living history museum. We tell a Nova Scotia story. We are located in Victoria County, but it is very much a Nova Scotia story. We're telling the story of Gaels, their language, culture, and kinship. We've got 12 period buildings over 4 eras, and it's a natural period setting. We've got costume staff and about 3 to 4,000 artifacts, farm animals. The idea of we're giving people a sensorial immersive visitor experience that really gets them into what Gaelic life was like for our ancestors. And you can see a map there at the bottom showing the darker the green, the higher percentage of Gaelic speakers were in that area at the turn of the century. So as basically that's illustrating that Gaelic is not an Iona thing. Gaelic is very much an Eastern Nova Scotia thing, including a big part of Richmond County. In 2009 was kind of a milestone year for us. 2019, sorry. It was 60th anniversary for the organization and 20 years since we joined the Nova Scotia Museum. We had started strategic planning in 2015, looking at our assets and looking at how we needed to grow, what we needed to really provide us with the capacity to grow, not only grow, but even just maintain what we were doing. So we had developed an original site strategy in 2015 that was followed by some business planning and a conceptual study in 2016. Our own municipality, the municipality of Victoria County, and ACOA were on board actually before we even finished that 2016 strategy. And then the province moved on board as well. And what we developed was originally a $3.6 million site development strategy that over the last few years, because of COVID and other factors, is actually a $6.8 million strategy developed with the Nova Scotia Museum in partnership with the province, ACOA, Canadian Heritage, and Victoria County. What we will have at the end is 3 new structures, 3 renovated structures, and 4 new exhibits. And I'm just going to quickly go through them. This is the centerpiece of the strategy, which is our new Welcome Cultural Center. It's a 7,700 square foot facility, which will provide us year-round capacity to do things, which we haven't had in the past. We'll house visitor reception. We'll have 2 exhibition spaces, which kind of bookend the experience on site. So we've got an orientation, who the Gaels were, why they left Scotland, and then the Gaelic Nova Scotia today kind of wraps up 1920s to present. There's a library and archives, genealogy center, which we're going to be called the Shenica Center, which I'll talk about in a second. We've got the multi-purpose programming space, our gift shop, a commercial kitchen, and our administrative offices. There's a bit of a floor plan there. We did have a soft opening this year, so we're gradually getting in the building and getting it set up. And we'll do our official opening in the spring of 2023. The building is high energy efficiency standard. It's a passive house, which is a German standard, where the building envelope the design of the building envelope really makes the energy efficiency, so it relies less on the mechanical system. These are some pictures of our new building. The top left one there is the gift shop. The top right one is looking out at the stage from our new tuning room. And then, of course, there's one looking down on the hill, and then that's our exhibit space. The exhibits aren't in yet, but that's the space. The Shenica Center, which I referred to, is Gaelic for traditions. We've had a great donor from a friend of Jim St. Clair's, who made a significant donation to our project in memory of Jim. And this will be our library and archives, our roots, Cape Breton genealogical materials, Jim's own papers, which are being split between us and the Beaton, Joe McLean collection of fiddle manuscripts, Donnie Campbell's Celtic Serenade collection of Celtic music recordings, Carl Mackenzie recordings and materials, and a whole lot more. So this is going to be a great resource center for anybody looking at Gaelic language and culture. Exhibits, I mentioned the 2 in the Welcome Center. We're also looking at 2 outdoor interpretive kiosks. We're doing one with the Migma and the relationship with the Gaels, and there's also one for the Bredor Lake, the natural and cultural connections of the biosphere. And those are in fabrication now and will be installed this fall and next spring. The other elements, the shingle mill. So this is period equipment that came from the Cash family in Irish Cove, and it served Gaelic communities all over Eastern Cape Breton. That officially opened this fall. And this is an old barn that we turned into an on-site activity center for programming. It's also a green room for our church concerts and functions. New washroom building. These are all things that the latter part here is, they're not as exciting as the new building, the new main building, but they really provide us with enhanced capacity. And this one in particular was for our growing cruise ship traffic, because prior to COVID, saw a huge explosion in cruise ship traffic to the village. New maintenance workshop to support our maintenance program. As I mentioned, we've got 12 buildings and 12 period buildings. We've got other buildings as well as artifacts and equipment as well. And this is our old visitor center, which has been renovated outside. It will actually become our curatorial center, so it'll be artifact storage and our costume department as well. So total project costs about 6.8 million, and 100,000 from Victoria County. The province is in with 4.2, Government of Canada 1.4, and so we had a community private sector fundraising goal of $1 million, and we're in the last stage. The final 300,000 is what we're working on now with our campaign. As we move forward, these are things that we're looking at in terms of strengthening our story. So some of these elements will help there. Now that COVID, we hope, is behind us, we're really looking at our experience as well, making them more immersive, enhanced site tours, and experience for visitors, new partnerships we're looking at as well. And of course, as everybody is talking in almost every sector now, especially tourism, around recruitment and retention and succession planning and labor market issues as well. So those are some of the bases of our strategic plan that we entered into prior to COVID, and now that we've got all this enhanced capacity with our physical structures, we're going to be revisiting those. And so some things, I mentioned we're working hard to share and promote our story with our community and our visitors. We've got a wide range of offerings for the community. This program is really going to help us build on our successes and expand our programming. It will also enable us to enhance our creation of an atmosphere where everyone can come together and celebrate the culture. It's going to better position us to return strong post-COVID, which we have had a really good season this year. And also looking at things, there's an international focus around museums in terms of museums changing lives, museums being not just a place where people go in and find the old story, but where we become actual ways to actually create change within community. And that, in a nutshell, is our project. So Tapalev, Walalan, and Nasi. And I don't know if there's anything my colleagues, or my board members, not my colleagues, my board members would like to add to that.
That's fine. Randy sums it up very well.
That's awesome.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's almost $7 million, project, and you're in the last 300K, that's a milestone in itself, so that's awesome. It looks fantastic, and I am mad that I didn't stop in on my way by 10,000 times this summer.
Well, next trip, you know
I
what
am
to
gonna
do.
have to stop in.
Yeah.
So any questions from council for Rodney?
Yeah, you had mentioned that, your goal is to go year round. So what's your current time frame now for operation?
What we've been doing in the past is basically we're running, well, the period site won't be year-round, but we will be able to have the capacity to do programming year-round. What we've only been able to do in the past is basically made it to late October, maybe the first week of November, depending upon weather. Our last, our stage building, our backstage building is what we use for programming and functions, and it wasn't winterized. There was, we really couldn't get much beyond that, whereas this building will provide us with the capacity to do things 12 months of the year.
Awesome.
Do you have numbers in terms of what your traffic looked like this year so far?
In 2019, we had just shy of 26,000 people. The vast, but probably 99% of that was May to October. This year, prior to Fiona, we lost probably about 55 buses
Oh,
from Fiona because of ships not being able to dock in Sydney. So prior to Fiona, we were running at about 82 to 84% in 2019. As of the end of September, we're actually about 75 to 78%.
That's
So,
pretty good.
so even without that loss of buses, like
Yeah.
we were, if we hadn't lost those buses, we're gonna end the
Would've
year
blown
probably
right
close.
through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were well on your way for sure, yeah,
Yeah.
wow,
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah. awesome.
55, you just blew my mind
Yeah.
with that number. I'm struggling to
Yeah,
recover.
38% of our business in 2019 was from cruise.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's an important market for us.
Wow.
That's awesome. Okay.
And after that, I'm, yeah, shaking my head. Wow.
So you're obviously doing these presentations, you're drumming up more financial support, I'm assuming, and you're looking for investments and from all the different areas that basically like the map would cover kind of thing, is that, yeah,
Yeah,
great.
we've had some great support from Pictou County, from Halifax,
Oh, wow.
Antigonish County.
Great,
Our own municipality's been very, very supportive.
yes, I saw that,
So
yeah.
we've had some great donors. Actually, we've had some really good support from American donors as well.
Oh,
And
interesting.
we actually have a conduit through Community Foundation Nova Scotia that we can actually provide tax incentives for
Oh, that's
for US
fantastic.
donors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really great. So timeline-wise, are you looking to get this last piece wrapped up before the end of the fiscal, or are you looking at sort of investments in the next fiscal year as well? A fiscal being like end of March for municipalities, so what's your,
You want to handle that one?
Well, we are trying to wrap this
He's
up.
the chair of my fundraising committee.
okay,
We are trying to wrap this up as soon as we can, and we're down at the last piece here. We are still looking at taking donations over a period of years if people want to do an amount for 2 years or 3 years or
Right.
5 years. But if we have a commitment, then we can say we can put that into closing the fundraising. But
Yeah.
we're trying to put an end to it. We've had a very difficult time because of COVID. Our first meeting was scheduled in Pictou County, our first discussion about funding, and it got canceled the previous day by COVID. And Rodney and I glow in the dark now because we've done everything by Zoom.
yes. I know that feeling well, yes.
But long-term commitments, we're still open to them.
Okay, great, okay, that's great. So we have, I guess, just for your information, we have a couple, I guess, of ways of supporting projects like this. We have a grant application program. It does max out at a certain amount, I think it's $10,000 for our regional grant funds. I will tell you at this point in the fiscal year, we are getting pretty low on those funds. But then we also, at budget time, we have a list of strategic investments that we make each year in addition to the grant program, where maybe there is something that we could do. So I would just manage the expectation a little bit for this year because of the timing for us, right? Coming into the winter, we had a lot of interest in our grant programs over the spring, summer, and so we're getting low. But I do think it's obviously from the map that you provided, it's an institution that serves the whole island and beyond, right? So I think it would be smart of us to be there and supporting you some way or another. So maybe that's something that we can kind of follow up on
Sure.
through discussions and figure out, I guess, the best positioning for this to come back to council. Councillors, would you be supportive of that? Or?
Yeah, when you're speaking about sponsorship from different counties, you're talking about like private, like personal business, corporate
Yeah.
sponsorships,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So in terms of municipal sponsorships, like, I didn't see that in your presentation,
No,
so I didn't,
Yeah,
like,
right now,
maybe
we
you've had,
have 100,000 from Victoria County,
yes,
and you guys are the first municipality that we're
that
approaching.
you're,
Right.
that you're
Yeah,
approaching,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Just because you didn't really have an ask in your presentation,
Yeah.
right? So it could also just be to present to the people of Richmond County to encourage them to donate, or businesses in Richmond County, so, okay.
Kind of gauging interest.
Yeah,
I gotcha,
yeah,
okay,
for sure.
yeah, okay.
And so, just, to build on the Deputy Warden's point, there is an opportunity for individuals to be able to contribute smaller amounts, is there, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
great.
and we're a registered charity, so we
Yeah.
provide tax receipts.
Yeah, okay, great. So maybe that's something we could help with right away, is to help spread that message and the channels through which people can do that.
Mhm.
And then sort of the discussion that might take a little bit longer would be how or if the municipality can figure out a way to support financially directly, so. Okay, all right. Well, this is great. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Are there any other questions for Rodney? Or Mayor Wilf?
I would just say an address, if they can provide us with a specific address to
Like
the
an email
location.
address?
And it might be on, what?
Oh, you mean the physical address?
No, the
of
physical
village?
address for,
Yeah, Yep.
you know, maybe, it's a little late this season, but for anybody else, if we're gonna put it out there, then we,
perfect. Yeah, we can get all kinds of that information from you and
Yep,
we'll share
absolutely.
it away. Great. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Great, thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate the opportunity
you.
to chat with you.
Great to see you all.
Safe travels. Thank you.
I will do that. Great, thank you very much.
I have to say, the last time I was here, had many more counselors.
It's a little more sparsely populated around the council table now.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we're right on time. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, I'm gonna just take a little drink here. I had a couple of items I wanted to provide an update to council on, the first being Cape Breton South recruiting for health. So the team has continued to be busy. I did want to just update on a couple of things. With leadership from our program director, Gina McDonald, we warmly welcomed a new physician to the Ayrshire Clinic in September. So that's pretty exciting news. So welcome Dr. Attenborough to the Ayrshire Clinic. I hope we get to meet you in person soon. The organization also recently published an annual newsletter highlighting activities that included secured funding for a new welcome guide, and they are working with the Cape Breton Local Immigration Partnership on that guide as well. There were Doctors' Day celebrations held in Ayrshire, Lordways, Port Hawkesbury, Straight Richmond Hospital. There have been appreciation activities for healthcare workers across the region. I know recently Gina participated in a family medicine conference, so we are at important recruitment events very consistently. There has been an additional physician being identified as being recruited to Port Hawkesbury as well. That announcement is to be determined yet, but we do understand that an additional person has been identified. And of course, we had the Community of Care Awards, which everyone was familiar with. I did want to put a special plug in for the work that Gina is doing on the Business of Medicine course that's coming up for a group of, I think it might be 8 young physician residents. It's going to be held at the Bredor Lakes Inn at the end of October, and they are working with and Nova Scotia Health on regional planning activities to advocate for more resources in the region as well. And it's really interesting. That Business of Medicine course in particular is going to be an opportunity. You know, there's a learning piece that has to happen there, and of course that's the centerpiece. But there are some community activities that we can connect those folks to as well to really showcase our region. So that's really exciting. I did, put a note in my update, I think, to council that the regional approach to healthcare recruitment seems to be really working. It's been lots of steep learning curves, but we're starting to see more professionals locating here. And that the professionals who are working here now are getting the message that their efforts are truly appreciated. So we are working now on our terms of reference, because as a growing organization, evolving organization, there needs to be some work done there. But overall, I have to say the work of the group's been pretty stellar. So I just wanted to open it up for questions, use the committee of the whole as an opportunity to update the public on the work of that group, but also for councillors, of course, to ask any questions about it if you've not been able to attend the meetings. So any questions on that? Okay. So I will just end by saying I'd encourage everyone to follow on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can follow Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health, or it's at CB South #4 Health. And that's how you find us on Facebook. And there's all kinds of updates going on there on the daily. So, okay. So if there's no further questions, I'll move on to the Accessibility Committee report. And thank you, Deputy Warden. There was a typo in the year. It was definitely 2023, not 2022. I keep trying to go back in time. So just, I won't read through the entire report, but just wanted to mention for the purposes of, maybe informing the public as well, that membership recruitment continues to be a standing item on the agenda, and we anticipate that that's going to stay there because we really want to attract more people to the committee who have lived experience with accessibility challenges. We did welcome Shelley Dory and Ashley Levante to our first committee meeting on Thursday. So they are brand new members who are of the public who are now on the committee. And of course, now that the accessibility plan is approved, we're going to really focus our efforts on prioritizing the initiatives in that plan. And so we're going to get together in an in-person meeting on October 27th for that committee here in council chambers to try to pull out the pieces that are most important. What are the things that are maybe the easiest or the low-hanging fruit that we can achieve quickly? And then, of course, related to that would be celebrating Accessibility Week. So that Accessibility Week will be May 28th to June 3rd, 2023. So watch for lots of activities from the county and the village, because it is a joint committee of both governments to celebrate and pay homage to Accessibility Week next year. So any questions on that?
I just have, well, it's not a question, and it's great to see the congratulations, or thank you very much, I'm not sure how to put that, for the two new recruits that just joined the committee. Honestly, and again, like you said, we're open for many more. The only thing I will say is that me and you are double booked on that day, so we'll have to look into it later.
Yep, we sure will. We sure will. That's what happens when you're moving things around. So stay tuned for a new date on that.
So in the report, there was a recommendation for
Yes.
council, right? Looking
Yeah.
for us to advertise for members with lived experience in a report or newspaper ad for the month. So, I mean, if we don't see, I can't imagine there's budgetary issues to that. But
I think it would be a fairly minimal cost, but because we don't have a budget for it,
Correct.
I did want to bring it to council as a recommendation. So, and it is, like I said, just all in part of our ongoing desire to have more people with lived experience at the table. So, yeah. So, councillors, would you be in supportive of that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to that effect.
Okay. So, Councillor Brent Sampson has moved to advertise for members with lived experience in a report or newspaper ad for this month.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And I would just look for motion to approve the accessibility report as it was presented with that one correction to the date, 2023.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Dignan. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are community acknowledgements. I have a couple that I wanted to run through, including our Volunteer of the Month, which is outlined on the agenda. And maybe I'll just begin with that one. Our Volunteer of the Month for the month of September is Terry Boudreau. Terry began volunteering with the Straight Richmond Palliative Care Society a few years after the death of her husband, Roy. She joined the Palliative Care Society as a member and served as chairperson also for 3 years. For 17 years, she's dedicated her time to this society by promoting the philosophy and principles of palliative care through volunteering, networking, public and professional education and advocacy. She believes that everyone should have optimum palliative care provision close to home and are entitled to compassionate care at the end of life. Her passion for volunteering continues on as she volunteers with the Canadian Cancer Society, the Canadian Kidney Foundation, and the St. Joseph's Parish Council. Her willingness to give freely of her time and talent is greatly appreciated by all who benefit from her supports in the county. So thank you very much, Terry, and I do believe she is from District 1, so I don't
Yes.
know if you wanted to...
Yeah, no, I
give
just want to congratulate and acknowledge Terry for all her work in the community and in our county, so well deserved, and yeah, look forward to dropping off her gift and
That's great.
spending some time with her, so, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Sampson. The next acknowledgement I had was that October is Migma History Month. In 1993, Premier John Savage and Migma Grand Chief Ben Sillaboy declared October as the official month to recognize and celebrate Migma culture and heritage. The theme for this year is Migma beadwork and the art of beading. As Migma History Month is about educating and celebrating the history and culture, this year we honor and celebrate the beading masters who have carried on these traditions through designs and patterns, through their ceremonies and art. So I would just encourage everyone to please take some time this month to celebrate the rich art, culture, and history of Indigenous communities across Cape Breton and Unama'ki, and to learn about the importance and the impact of the treaties of peace and friendship. So just wasn't sure if anybody had any other comments on that. It's an important month, and I know that we've been doing some, I know I've been doing some social media work. I'm not sure, did we have anything already done from the county? If not, I can maybe bring that to your attention, Troy, and maybe we could share
Sure.
that. Yeah, okay, great. Great. All right. Any further questions or comments on that, or new acknowledgements that I may have missed? I'm sure there are many. There's lots going on in our communities these days.
Yeah, so I would just like to congratulate and acknowledge the players of the Cullable baseball team. They won the regional championship just last night. So they're moving on to provincials and going to Yarmouth. So just want to wish them luck. And yeah, just say congratulations. So félicitations aux joueurs, les entraîneurs, leurs familles et toutes leurs amis. Je vous souhaite un beau voyage et bonne chance à Yarmouth.
Great. Merci, Councillor Sampson.
Merci, madame.
And félicitations is right. That's a big win.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Highly
yeah.
competitive area, right?
Yeah, and as an opposing coach, I'm very proud. I'm very proud. Yeah, so I've coached a lot of them in baseball, so yeah, they're a great bunch of baseball players and great kids. So yeah,
I believe the first time they've won it in
What age group?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
many
Yeah,
years
so, yeah.
that they get to
Hats
hold the
off to them,
banner
yeah.
up, so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the age group?
Yeah, that's
It's
the
actually,
thing. I
it's
think,
U18, so it's the high
Yeah.
school, so anywhere from grade 8 to grade 12
Wow.
is pretty
And I
much.
think they had maybe one grade 12
Yeah.
on the team, and the rest
So
of them
young
were,
team.
yeah, some grade 8s
Wow,
up
that's
to
great.
grade 11. So yeah,
Great experience.
very great accomplishments. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, great stuff.
Okay. All right. Any further community acknowledgements? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I think it's important that we recognize those rock stars in our communities
Yes.
when we get the chance, for sure.
Yeah.
So the next item on our agenda is correspondence, and there are several pieces where action is required. And the first is through a memo from Clint Sampson, Revenue Manager, regarding a tax reduction due to fire. at property number AAN, number 030000672. It's a lot of zeros, so. So Clint has provided a memo with the details of the reduction. Does anybody have any questions on that item?
I'll make the motion to provide the tax relief as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson.
Second that?
Thank you, Deputy Warden. So is there any further discussion on the tax reduction? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is regarding a letter from Glenn Horn, CAO of the municipality of the County of Antigonish, regarding cellular advocacy. So again, that information was provided in the package. I will be honest, I'm struggling to bring it up right in this moment. Loving my connectivity here, but that's okay. Do you? Okay, maybe I'll just look here. So I don't know, maybe Troy, I'll ask you to speak to this because I know
Sure.
you've been working with the other CAOs and neighboring municipalities on this.
Yep, this was the circular that we worked on with Inverness County, Antigonish County, Victoria. They're all listed down below there. And Glenn had somebody on his team that took the lead on this one. And I think it was last meeting or the meeting before I promised you that it would be coming. And when we saw him at A-Man's, I asked him where it was, and here it is. So it just took them a little time to get here, but everybody is on there. Victoria, Guysborough, Antigonish, Inverness, us, and CBRM. Going off to Minister Corkum Creek, I think it is. Yes. It's not just broadband, it's cellular as well, and the gaps that we experience in all the 4 counties, well, 6 counties that are listed there.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Okay.
it adds weight to the conversation.
Thank you, Troy. I will say I appreciated very much the comments that were added in later about Hurricane Fiona, because I think we all saw in, across all of our regions that, people were particularly vulnerable. I know I was driving to places, trying to get cell signal to catch up on, emergency management office updates from Troy and Stephen, and it was, it's a desperate situation, certainly. So would councillors be in favor of us partnering on this letter, this joint letter?
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah. I'll make a motion to that effect.
Yeah, great.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Sampson that we support the letter drafted by Glenn Horn on cellular advocacy. Could I have a
I'll second
seconder?
that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Any further discussion?
I think as well, when I think about this letter and then I think about the letter to MP Callaway that we just approved, like, that we had approved last month, I don't think we've sent that yet.
No.
So if we could just even,
reference it.
reference this letter, because I think
Yeah.
so that we're touching all the places
Yeah.
is important.
Yeah, good plan. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks, everyone, and thank you to Troy and the CAOs for your work on that. Certainly an issue that's top of mind for us. Okay, so the next item is correspondence from CFO Jason Martel regarding a grant request from the Alma Historical Society for a Type 1 Infrastructure Grant Fund, $4,500. So I don't know, Troy or Jason, if you'd like to speak to that first. Information was all provided in our package, so is there anything outstanding that we should, no, it's all in the package?
Yeah, nothing else came up.
Okay. So any comments from councillors on this item?
Well, for me, looking at Jason's update from earlier today, Jason, thank you. I think, thank you, but we're looking at, looking at these numbers and our remaining numbers. When you talk about Alma Dam and the Historical Society, the word historical is in there, right? So again, I'm going to go back to our community building fund, which is our gas tax fund, and point out that there is funding there for cultural and heritage infrastructure, right? So if we want to try to save on our grant, district grants and capital grants, maybe we want to look at funding this 4,500 or a portion of it through this community building fund.
So I think what kind of an analysis do you think we would need to do to see if that was eligible? I mean,
It should be a pretty quick email for us to send away and see if it fits the, or just review of the document and the submission guidelines. We should be able to find that out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, when you're CEO, when you're talking cultural infrastructure, it's talking about infrastructure that supports arts, humanities, and heritage, right? You know, so I think, and then you're also talking about a tourism infrastructure component as well. So I think between those two, you should be able to get somewhere there, right?
Sure.
So what if we defer the decision on that until we can gather more information on whether or not the funds could be taken from that?
yeah, and I mean, we do have an agreement in place with the Alma Historical Society that may influence in a good way that
Yeah.
discussion as well, right? That determination of whether or not we'd be eligible.
Okay.
So would you be in favor of that, to defer it to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to find a way to support this project, but
Yeah.
I know where we're at when it comes to the rest of our funds,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
One thing I did not see in there, and maybe I missed it, is there like an urgency of timing on this that you know of?
You haven't said anything?
I didn't see anything to that effect in the application. I would imagine that any kind of build, infrastructure, it's only gonna happen in the spring anyway, right? It's at
if it
this
doesn't
point.
happen soon, yeah, that's right, yeah.
But they do have funding from other partners that are already listed there, so I don't know, my feeling is,
Yeah,
I can't imagine that's gonna flow over into another fiscal, right? Because there's a fair bit of
yeah,
funding from provincial government, 31,000.
okay.
So I think those are both valid things that we should maybe try to find out, right? Like the timing of the project, and then also whether or not we would be able to use those funds for
Yeah.
that purpose.
Building fund.
I think it's the only way at this point that we're gonna be able to support the project to the tune of the funds that they're looking for, because we are just running low in our grant funds, right?
Yeah, 4,500 is a big
It's a big
ask
chunk.
at this stage of the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But this is also the first season that you've had people out and active again since
It is,
COVID, so,
yeah, oh, yeah. Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
good to see that activity.
we should have 0 at the end of March 31st. That is
Slide
the
in with
ultimate goal. Okay, so we can make a decision then to defer that. I don't know if we'd need a motion to that effect. It is listed as action required, so
Yeah.
maybe we will just put that in a motion just to
Yeah,
kind
so I'll
of
make
make it
that motion,
official.
yeah.
So the motion would be to defer the grant request back to staff to determine eligibility for CCBF funding and the timeline.
Yeah.
Okay, so could I have someone to move that?
I'll move that.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. The next item on our agenda is correspondence for information purposes. And we were in receipt of the Port Hawkesbury Paper 2022 Fall Newsletter. And so obviously I won't review that whole newsletter, but I do know that it is available on social media for review, and would certainly encourage anybody to check it out, and just congratulations to Port Hawkesbury Paper for another successful year, and we really appreciate receiving those newsletter updates. They're fantastic. Okay, so the next item is the review of checks issued. Are there any questions on the list of checks that were provided? Okay, so I'm hearing none, so we'll move on to the review of action items. And I do have a couple of updates to share, and I think councillors would have seen those updates go through anyways, but just want to make sure. Numbers 28 and 29 are completed, so that was the letter regarding municipal affairs taking an active role on the code of conduct, and also the, item 29 was the letter to Tim Houston regarding the deed transfer, or the proposed non-residential deed transfer tax, and the non-residential provincial property tax. So those two are completed, working on the others, so.
But that's not on that list.
Oh, it's not on that list? I was looking at the list that,
I think you're looking
The
maybe at
old
the
list.
regular list.
Yeah, the
This is
regular.
the committee
I
of the
thought we
whole
had
list.
consolidated it all in one. I didn't re-download
The one
it.
that was in the package only had 16 items. I
It
think.
did.
Oh, I did not re-download it. I thought I had the latest one. Sorry, guys. Anyway, those two things, whatever number they are done. And I'm still gonna call that a victory because I'm
Yes,
slogging through it.
And we are working on consolidating the list so that we're only working off. one.
Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't re-download it in the package. I used the one that I had, so. All right, okay, so then the next item is items added to the agenda. We did have a few, and I think the order was
Acting collectively was first, I believe.
acting collectively, yes. And so the acting collectively group is really starting to, I guess I would say, press the gas on their community research. And so I just wanted to add it to the agenda here so that we could help them spread the news. Celeste Gotel is leading the work on that. So the Dr. Kingston Memorial Health Center has contracted her to do this piece of work, which is really great because her connections in the health community are extensive. And I think at this point, we were just simply wanting to be supportive of those efforts and to maybe assist in any kind of advertising, et cetera. And I think she has been in touch with you directly, Troy.
Yep, and
Yeah.
Shelley's already has things posted, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, then, okay. All right, so the request was just simply to share on social media, to discuss it here at the Committee of the Whole. So, you know, I guess for seniors in the community who do get some outreach, this is a very legit project. It is a research project, and we're very hopeful that residents of Richmond County will be well represented in it. So if folks can find the time to participate, that would be much appreciated. Celeste has also requested that we provide a quote for a press release, so I will do that, and then we'll make sure that that is circulated to all the councillors as well.
If I could, Madam.
Absolutely.
Warden, through you, and to those watching as well, they did a really good thing. They supplied ads in both official languages for us to post,
Love it.
which is nice. So we would, or already have posted both of them. So.
Yeah. So
For
maybe
anybody
we'll
else
read-
that's looking for us to
Yeah.
send stuff, doing it in both languages is great.
Lovely, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and if we have a slow news day, we could repost it.
That's right. Okay. So if there's no questions on that, it looks like we're already ahead of the game on it. I'll move us on to the next item added, which had been previously added, which was a bylaw enforcement officer partnership opportunity. And I thought this might touch
Timely.
some folks' attention. I received a phone call from Mayor Ron Chisholm from Mulgrave. He has been on a bit of a mission reaching out to neighboring municipalities to explore the potential of a new shared service for bylaw enforcement. Many of our municipalities are small, and so none of us can really necessarily fiscally afford to do it on our own. But the option of maybe having someone who would be doing that kind of work with in a defined capacity within each of our regions, to me was very appealing. So I wanted to bring it forward to council, basically looking for your approval to authorize myself and Troy to explore this partnership opportunity. Just open it for discussion, yeah, what do you think?
I think we brought it up at the last bylaw policy meeting. In
Yeah.
fact, I think, you know,
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Councillor Digdon or Sampson that
Yeah.
said, you know, maybe we should try to partner up.
Yeah.
So I think it's very timely that this
Yeah.
comes forward, so
Yeah.
definitely you'd have my support to proceed.
Yeah, and mine as well. I think one of the questions, though, we have to bring to the table is how, and really that's the whole deal, is how do we enforce it?
Yeah,
And I mean that if he's an employee of both, or is he an employee of one, or if it goes if it goes on to the enforcement side, does the county of Richmond
And what?
support his question, his procedure, or does?
yeah, we would probably need some policy around,
Oh,
bylaw
100%
developed around
I guess,
it
but-
ourselves. And hopefully that, whatever we develop would be sort of mirrored or that we would mirror whatever's developed collectively with whoever would want to join in on the partnership.
Yeah.
It's super early days, like,
Yep.
it's just really starting with a conversation. I just thought it was so incredibly timely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so everyone is okay with me pursuing that conversation, and Troy and I will
Yes.
follow back up. Great. Thank you very much, everyone. There's no real decision, so I don't think we need a motion or anything, but we'll at least start the conversation, bring something back to council soon. Okay, so the next item added was a newly added item, which was the Destination Cape Breton Letter of Support. So following the presentation, I think it was last month, with Terry Smith, and I believe Cindy Walker was here as well. And then today, we had consultations with Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Both Troy and I participated in two separate consultations today. It was regarding the proposed amendments to the Cape Breton Island Marketing Levy Act. Destination Cape Breton has offered 3 suggested changes or comments. Number 1, they are suggesting that the new legislation state that the levy will apply to all fixed roof accommodations as defined in the Tourism Accommodation Registry Act, which includes Airbnb and VRBO, regardless of the number of rooms. Our current bylaw indicates that if you have 10 rooms or more, then the levy would apply to you. The proposed legislation right now states that you would have to have at least 1 room in order for this legislation, the marketing levy, to apply to you, which very squarely leaves it back at the municipal level to have a bylaw in place. Instead of saying in the legislation, it's this many rooms, or it's 1 room or more, they said at least. So they're giving themselves flexibility, and I think in turn giving us flexibility, but at the end of the day, I guess the suggestion from DCBA is that we be consistent with this across all of the acts, so that you don't have one part of the province saying this many rooms and another part saying that many rooms. So I think that's kind of the aim there.
Yeah.
The second recommendation was that the language for use of the funds be changed to funds collected will be used exclusively on activities and programs that directly support the development of the tourism industry and the marketing of destinations from which they were generated. And the reason that's important is that if it's limited to marketing only, it's not going to allow Destination Cape Breton and other marketing organizations to work on things like the workforce shortage, customer service training, all of the things that are critically important to the sustainability and the ongoing success of our tourism industry and have a direct impact on our ability to promote it. So they're looking for some flexibility there. And the third was that there is a seamless process to replace the current Cape Breton Island Marketing Levy Act with the new legislation, so there's no impact on planning or budgeting for Destination Cape Breton. And from what I saw today, it looks like we've got a good overlap in the legislation, that basically our bylaw will stay until such time as, it's something like a year or something to that effect. So I think we're in good shape there, but just to protect our destination marketing organization, I think it would be smart for us to state that we'd be in favor of that. So they're requesting council proceed with a motion of support for the proposed amendments that I just mentioned, and I guess I'd like some feedback from councillors on.
So when Terry was here last time, we decided to defer a decision in terms of support until we would see, because we were the first visit I think he had.
Yes.
So do we have any kind of indication, I was hoping to see that in his email, but do we have any indication from him about the stance of other municipalities?
So all I can tell you is from the discussions that I heard in the consultation today is that people are generally in favor of this. On the number of rooms, there's a little bit more hesitancy, but I think it's certainly the more of a housing crisis that a municipality has, the more inclined they are to be in favor of a level playing field for everyone. And that's the terminology that I've heard used by all of the municipal representatives so far, level playing field. It's not fair to have some being treated one way and others another way. But that's not necessarily official council support of that direction. It was just the representatives, right?
From different municipal units that were in attendance.
Exactly.
Who could be staff or council or.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the, I don't know, maybe we'd have to look into this part a little more, but I know when it comes to taxation wise, a motel, hotel,
You talking commercial tax, Councillor Dig?
I'm talking, No,
Property tax?
property tax.
Okay, so that's separate,
It is,
totally separate from this.
kind of. So it's separate. Yeah, I
No,
guess,
So the marketing levy is charged to visitors, right? It's, so the accommodations, the fixed roof accommodations provider would
Yeah.
have to collect the levy from the visitor. It's, I think, 2% now.
Yeah, it's just a surcharge goes on your building.
It's a
you go to the
surcharge,
hotel
yeah,
and-
exactly. It has no impact on, and then basically the hotel or whatever, the fixed roof accommodation would submit that to, you know,
Correct.
essentially it lands
To
up the
destination.
Organization that
To
they've
us
been
and then
Yeah.
on to them.
right,
Exactly.
100%. But, and I guess my only little kickback is that I understand where they would like, so the larger industries or motels or 10 rooms or more would like to see this as a fair playing field to everybody. In this, on the opposite hand, the person with only one room or a bed and breakfast is paying full taxes on their investment, or on their, so on their full tax on their
Property
home or
tax.
property. Whereas your 10 rooms or more is not.
They pay property tax.
They do, but they're also, they're given a, I don't know how to explain it.
There's some accommodations, I think, depending on their situation, that are they charged at a different rate, like a 6-month rate or something?
They're only charged, correct, they're not charged like a full year.
I'm
So,
not sure who is and who isn't.
so a $500,000
For some seasonal.
building isn't
I
charged
actually didn't know that was a
$500,000.
thing.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Regardless, I would suggest that those larger accommodations are paying a lot more property tax
Yeah.
than.
Actually, they're not, and that's why I say, if before,
So you're
before
telling
I
me
would,
someone with a single Airbnb is gonna pay more property tax than, say, the
I am.
Cornerstone?
yeah, I am. Yep,
Okay.
so.
I think we should look into that then.
To me, that just, you know, I know it's still coming from the, I guess, the person going in or the
The visitor.
visitor.
Yeah.
However, it's still a cost that has to be given out from the owner.
Okay. Yeah. So it's an in and an out for the owner though, right? It's not,
The owner's not paying.
the owner
No,
doesn't pay.
I understand,
Right.
but the owner's saving
Yeah.
on the left hand.
No, the owner's not saving anything, like I say, it's an in and out, although I understand it could be viewed as slightly discouraging in the sense that it's another surcharge for the customer.
Yeah.
You know, it's an increased cost to the customer at the end of the day. It's probably a little bit of extra work for the owners as well, because they have to deal with this,
Mm-hmm.
collecting this and remitting it. However, I think, you know, based on the numbers he showed us, we can see right in front of us where they're seeing the benefit from it. You know, there's a good return on investment here.
Yeah. So we don't need to, you know, certainly we can look into that matter that you've brought up, Councillor Digdon, because it's kind of news to me. So I think maybe our best bet here would be we could, you know, this
But I mean,
needs,
our commercial rate is
It's-
more than double our residential
I know,
rate,
I'm
even if
trying
they
to
were only
figure
paying
it
for
out.
6 months.
Yeah.
How could it possibly be less? And I've never heard about this 6 months, so I'm not saying,
Yeah, I don't
I just
know.
don't know anything about that, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
so we can do some work finding that out, I guess is what I'm saying. But nothing that we decide here, this is just committee of the whole, so we could, you know, we
Yeah,
could
well,
make
and it
this
was just for
decision at
discussion, it's
regular
just-
council, you
Right.
know what I
There is
mean?
something for tourism.
Bring it back there.
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of back to the, like, do we, you know,
Yeah.
to me, when I read those three and when I think about them, like, I would support, supporting them. I would supporting Destination Cape Breton and requesting those amendments. But I'm still a little I'm still looking to see what the rest of the
Yes.
municipalities, and I know that somebody has to go first, I
Yeah.
get it, but,
Yeah. But I think it's fair enough, because that was what we talked about last
Yeah.
time. So why don't we leave it at, we're gonna bring this back to it will come back anyway to our regular council
Yeah.
meeting. And our decision for this evening could be to do a little bit of homework on that 6-month or seasonal taxation piece, and to check back in with Destination Cape Breton and
Right.
see if they've made any headway
Yeah.
on the other pieces.
that,
Would
that,
be-
that I would love, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
great. Okay, I can certainly do that. You learn something new every day, all right?
Like I say, 2 years in, still learning.
Still learning. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think that was the end of the items added.
It is.
All right, so we're into our 15-minute question period. And if anyone is watching, our gallery's empty, but if anyone is home watching, the number to call for question period is 902-226-9885. And it's not restricted to items on the agenda. You can ask about anything related to the municipality, so. I'll just give it a minute. Oh, there's a call.
It's exciting.
What an awkward place for the phone.
Yeah, I know, we could have done a better job placing that, yeah.
Hang up, Shell, hang up. When in doubt, hang up.
There's probably a green button.
Hi, this is Celeste Hotel calling with a question.
Awesome, hi Celeste, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Am I on the speaker?
You're on the speaker.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Warden Lumbercat for mentioning the Acting Collectively project. I'm really pleased to hear it being discussed at council so that people in the community can hear more about it. And I know this is question period, so I have to form it in a question, which I will. So my question is, I would ask the, I guess, counselors if they would also be willing to share what has been posted on the Richmond County website, both in French and English, on their respective Facebook pages as well, because some of their constituents may not be following the Richmond County website, but they may actually be following the councilor website page. So I would ask if they would be so kind as to do that. And the other thing I would ask, I guess, in the form of the question, if councilors would be so kind, is to mention to their constituents when they talk to them about the opportunity to participate in this project. Because quite often older adults will be more inclined to get involved with something if they've heard about it from somebody they trust.
Yeah.
So I would also ask that. So I guess those are my two questions. So I'm asking for the support of council in that regard.
Thanks, Celeste. So the answer to the first question, I think, is yes. I'm seeing some nodding heads, so that's really great.
Thank you.
And definitely, it's funny. I remember when we started this project a while back, they were talking about the process being, so you would reach out, and then you would be told to call this number, and then you call this number, and you divulge a bunch of personal information. And I said, I feel like all of the lessons we have been learning about not divulging personal information goes against this, and it sort of the light bulbs came on. And so your point about being a trusted resource in the community is well taken. And certainly, I'll definitely discuss it with folks whenever I get the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just as a last point, I did make arrangements to have it translated, and you'll also be pleased to hear that we have 3 assessors who have been recruited who can also do the interviews en français. So when you're speaking with your constituents who are French-speaking, they will have the option to do their interview in French as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Celeste. Thanks for that effort.
Okay, so I'm sitting in my living room watching you, so thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so we'll just give it another couple seconds for the phone to ring, just in case there's some other folks on the line. Feels a little bit like Trading Post or something. Okay, so I'm not hearing the phone ringing anymore. We'll close up question period, and I would ask for a motion to move us in camera for a briefing on proposed contract negotiation.
I'll make that motion. Oh,
Okay, I heard Councillor Digdon, and then I think I heard Councillor Sampson seconding that, did I?
You did.
Yes, that's right. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion is carried. So I think we'll take a quick little break and we'll move in camera. And thank you, everyone. And thanks to everyone watching Untitled tonight.